Alright, today, hi and welcome. This. Get out of the shower, so get messed up. Laundry day too, so while I'm waiting for my dryer. Oh, there's a trick to this. You gotta look it up. You gotta look it up. Okay. So you see, I did that just so you guys would learn to be prepared for your videos. Try that again. Oh, I didn't turn it down that. No. That was pretty piercing. Beautiful. Let's have a look at the San Dimas before we get into the video. Something that, way back in the night, isn't that, every time I look at this thing, you never get the same thing twice with that finish. It's just spectacular, awesome, spectacular. But something I was thinking about. When people are joining bands and the band members they get, when you're thinking of a band, and I know it's hard to start bands. It's always been hard to start bands. That's not a new phenomenon at all. The older you get, the harder it gets. And then getting a band is like one part. Getting a band that actually is more than, I just want to party and get drunk. That's a whole different ball game altogether. But I would say this, that when you're putting your band together, okay, you think, okay, you're going to get a drummer, you're going to get a bass player, a singer or two, whatever. Maybe you sing, you play, a guitar player, maybe two guitar players, whatever, keyboard player, whatever. What people don't think of is that you should think of your band a little more complete than that. Other people, I'm not going to take it to like stadium level, because that's not, most people are never going to get there. You know what I mean? But you should incorporate a dedicated sound man for your band. Maybe you're going to have to pay the guy, obviously, but somebody that knows how to get good sound out of your equipment. Because a lot of times people have excellent equipment like this, and I mean, this thing is awesome. My mate was sounding good live. You really do need a good sound man. Now, years ago, back in the day when I used to play live with my band and stuff like that, this is the rig, not this, but I didn't have this, but this was the amp I'd bring out. Nowadays, you don't really have to bring out stuff like this. It's amazing that you can lighten the load a lot, but this is a real treat when you get to knock people's heads off. But it's a real big treat when you got somebody who knows how to mic it. Now, I had a Randall HT100 at the time. Yes, same thing that Dimebag Darrell was using. And what was cool about those Randalls, they had an XLR and a 1/4 inch with a volume control for a direct line out. And I remember the first time, the guy's name was Rick Smithers. He was a really good sound guy. And I said, he was going to put a microphone. I said, dude, you just grab the XLR, put it right through the head. And he was like, I never used that before. I don't know. I said, I'll put it right down low. Go back to the board and we'll do that. He goes, I don't know. I said, trust me, you won't regret it. Best sounding guitar he'd ever heard in that place. He was just like, he was so blown away at how good it sounded, right? And I was blown away by how good it sounded. Why? Because it was just direct in. He was like, geez, I wish there were more amps like that. And back in the day, there wasn't a lot of direct in amps. Everything was, you had an SM57 usually right sitting in front of it. Maybe you had, if you're lucky and the guy really liked you, maybe you had 2 mics on your cab. But usually you got one and it's kind of like, okay, we've got to find my tone. Yeah, there's your tone. That's where the microphone stands going, there's your tone. You know, it's like, they didn't really care as much about your tone as you did. And you had to expect that, right? Because I mean, it's like your sound check was usually going to be a few minutes and that's it. Maybe a song or two, and then if you're lucky, if you were playing the whole night, you might get an okay sound check, but most of the time you didn't. But when you did get somebody that was really good, it's like, geez, you know, what would it take to snag that guy? You know what I mean? Like how much would you have to pay him? You know what I mean? Say, hey, look, we're going to get paid. We're not going to get paid much, but let's consider him like an extra band member. And I think that's money well spent. Get yourself a sound guy. If he can run lights too, that's great. If he can't, no biggie. But as long as you can get the sound guy, here's what typically happens. Okay, I got 2 amps in this room. I got this thing here, which is heavily compressed. So, and great for the chug. It's awesome, right? But I also got another amp in the room that doesn't compress almost at all, and that's my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. If I'm on one side of the stage with this, no matter how loud I put that Fender Hot Rod Deluxe on 2 will cut right through this thing. Why? Because it doesn't compress. It's just right in your face. Those 6L6 tubes really give you that really angry right in your face, which is great, but you don't get the punchy chugginess. You get more of a think of like the Gibson growl, dad rocker sounds, right? So you know, you do all the. But if I'm whether I'm the lead guitar or the second guitar, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to hear it. Why? Because if just the 2 amps on the stage, the compressed amp, no matter how loud it is, it's in a negative dB zone, right? So the tone frequency there is not going to cut through as much. So you might be able to get it to, this is why, like, again, the sculpted mid thing, like this sounds pretty sculpted, but I actually have the mids up quite high. But I'll give you an idea. Let's do some sculpted mids. Okay, let's take the mids right off. Okay, this is the mids right off. you get an idea what that, no mids. That's a severe volume drop. Now let's put the mids back up to where they were, which was about halfway. Tell me if you can hear a difference. Big difference, eh? Right? Now, picture that one amp doing this. Okay, and the other amp cuts through with complete mids. You would never be able to keep up that. That's full. Yeah, it's full mids. I usually like my mids somewhere around the middle. So what's the point? Well, the point is that if you don't have a good sound guy that can blend both of those types of amps, you are going to run into a lot of problems. And that is, you're going to hear one guitar player but not the other. And you will sound shitty as a band. Because it doesn't matter if one guy has a killer tone and the other guy has a killer tone. If you can't blend them into the mix perfectly, the audience is, they might not know the difference between, the compressed amp and the non-compressed amp. But they are going to notice that I can't hear this guy on the other side of the stage even though he's right in front of me. I can hear the other guy more. And I saw a local band, about, I guess it would be almost 2 years ago. That was the problem. Their rhythm guitar player had to sound more like this, like that. And the other guy was through a Hot Rod DeVille, which is like the 4-speaker version or 2-speaker version of the Hot Rod Deluxe with I think an extra 20 watts. And the guy with the Hot Rod DeVille was also mic'd in the PA, so you couldn't hear the other guy at all. And he was right in front of me. I was just like, he probably doesn't even, and it wasn't a volume issue. It was just he just couldn't pop out of the mix. Now the bass player, he was smart. He had, I know, shocker, right? He had his bass amp on one side of the stage, but he had his combo speaker on the other side of the stage, and just kind of filling in. He wasn't mic'd or nothing, but he filled in well enough that he didn't just drown everybody out with the bass cutting through everything, right? And if you have a good sound guy, he'll do this. And I'm not a bad guy for adjusting sound, but the problem is I'm going to be on the stage playing. I need you to adjust the sound, right? But you need to get somebody that you can work with. If the guy's like, I'm a sound guy, and you don't know what you're doing, I'll tell you what's good sound. There are guys that are obviously experienced, and you should listen to them. But there's also guys that they think they're soundmen because they did one adjustment one night at a gig, and it's like, oh yeah, I know how to do this, and they don't have an ear for it at all. But when you find a good sound guy, like, he'll stand out. It's just like, my God, like, this guy makes everything sound great. He can make a pig nose amp sound good. If you don't know what those are, they're kind of neat. They got one dial on them. That's it. It's a volume. That's all that's on a pig nose. And the sound you get's the sound you get. And if you can make that sound good, you make anything sound good. But he knew how to blend a band, right? He knew how not to drown out the vocals. The only thing he had no control over most of the time was the drums, right? Because even with mics on the drums, the problem is the drums were already over, frequency-wise overtaking everybody anyway on the stage. So, consider getting a good sound guy in your band. It's an extra person you have to play, but you're not going to be making like millions of dollars doing it anyway. For the, if you're going to take a little bit of a loss and pay an extra guy and have a better sounding show, you can film that show, you can, get some audio on it. He could, film things for you. You can record things for you while you're playing live. You could run the lights. You could put on a little bit more theatrics. You could do a little more. So don't just consider your band just the musicians. consider the supporting staff too. That because like when you go see your favorite band live, trust me, they didn't set up the PA. They didn't do that. Metallica, they don't set up their own PA. You know what I mean? Taylor Swift, she doesn't set up her own PA. Same with Megadeth and all that. Now they might say, yeah, we like a little bit more of this in our sound, a little more of that in our sound. You work with a person, right? But it's just something that I never see musicians talk about. They talk about going on the road. They talk about all these things. But they never talk about the sound guy that's going to make you sound good. And if you have to take them with you here, there, and everywhere, that might not be a bad idea. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to do with this video while I'm waiting for the laundry to dry. I mean, if you want that massive sound live, you need somebody who knows how to pull that out.